I got a little something to say about these Sportskeeda year-end awards. And it's not going to be pretty for the other people doing award shows, because all these other polls are fixed. They are all homers. Whoever is leading the polls are leading them in a certain direction. There was no trying to convince me one way or another. This was a straight poll. I know a lot of people from Russo's brand. A lot of people were involved in this poll. A lot of great former wrestlers. And I know they were honest to the T. Nobody tried to sway anybody in any way. So I give credit to Sportskeeda for having the first ever legitimate, let me say that again, legitimate year-end awards. Congratulations to you, Sportskeeda.
Brock Lesnar is known for suplexing human beings through the mat, and now he's doing some hilarious things with Pat McAfee and also revealing more about his relationship with WWE's head honcho Vince McMahon than he's ever really revealed before. Plus, he has something to say to the younger wrestling talent in the world that some of you may not like. WWE's relationship with NBC Universal and the streaming service Peacock may be expanding in a huge way and may make your experience with Peacock a lot more enjoyable. We'll get to that. Plus, Chris Jericho, his contract with All Elite Wrestling is coming up soon, and he's already playing with the internet about it. Let's get into all of it on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. You share that link or you stink.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, 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 watch out. I did a fourth watch out for him. We should make that t-shirt. It's got to be a reality. I am Kev Kellam. That is Jose G down in Florida, in a state shaped like a certain part of the male anatomy that I will not mention. And over there in Nebraska, if he asks you, that is Jeremy Bennett. I am Kev Kellam. We got a lot to get into. It is WrestleMania season. I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl ad last night. What did you guys think of the Super Bowl last night?
I kind of fell asleep like in between in the last quarter. Okay. But then I saw the last play where the Rams got the lead, and I was like, all right, this is done. This is over with. So
it was an interesting game up until like the last 3 minutes, right, Jeremy?
Good game, great halftime show. Commercials were pretty subpar though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
just show was awesome. I don't get why
ruled.
everybody's just bagging on 50 Cent. He didn't look that bad.
You look great. How many like 40-plus-year-old dudes are gonna hang like that and rap and time?
He ain't gonna look like his debut album at 48. So
shout out to the people that are with us. If you're with us for the first time, yes, you can comment and get on screen. If you're watching on demand or listening to the podcast on demand, thank you so much once again keeping us on the podcast charts, the Apple Wrestling charts, in well over 7 different countries. We're very, very thankful for that. Thank you guys so much. Reminder as well, vote in the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. They're still going. Over 11,000 votes, I understand, have been cast already. Big experts. You already saw Vince Russo, talking about it. DDP, RVD, Renee Paquette, Booker T, a parade of stars are all putting their votes out on our website. You can watch the individual interviews with all of them. And those will be dropping in the weeks ahead here. And we'll I think we're looking at mid-March. So you have weeks to do this, but get your vote in. Once your vote's in, it's in. But tell your friends, this is going to be the biggest wrestling award show in all of wrestling. So be a part of it.
From the biggest wrestling website on earth.
There you go. There we go. That's the hot tag. Let's get right into it. Enough teasing and let's do some pleasing here. Brock Lesnar. Let's do some Brock Lesnar chat here. Brock Lesnar is still one of the biggest wrestling stars in the business. He will be in the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. He is reportedly set for a major match at WrestleMania and is still one of the biggest draws in the business. He had a lot to say on a very candid interview, as you need to be when you're on air with the voice of SmackDown. I'm talking about Pat McAfee.
SmackDown!
Thank you. Pat was on there, and we got to admit, what happened with Brock? Since this most recent tenure of Brock, did he just collect himself? Did all that internalized anxiety of the guy who's super mad and doesn't want to be around other human beings and built a compound for himself in the wilderness of Saskatchewan, Canada, This guy comes back, and now suddenly he has personality. He doesn't mind people coming on his land.
great.
He's building butcher shops. He's telling people how to run his farm.
So good.
And he has his personality now. And then he does this interview here with Pat, which I think is very revealing. He reveals that he has a father-son-like relationship with Vince, even though they've gone to war in a courtroom before. And he left WWE and did other things and all this different stuff. It certainly seemed like he was closer to Vince, as he should be, having a business relationship, than he is a Dana. He's not doing stuff with UFC at the moment. But then I like this quote, and this was compelling. And I think it aggravated some people I saw. Specifically, maybe some younger wrestling fans didn't like hearing this. I don't know if younger wrestlers didn't like hearing it. But this quote was kind of compelling when he kind of called out, I wouldn't say he called out the locker room, but he had something to say about newer wrestlers who've come along and why is he still at the top and why are other people not in his position. And he's one of one, as Pat McAfee called him. What do you think of this quote here that he said?
I think this was awesome, dude. First of all, he revealed a lot of stuff in this interview. This interview was awesome. I checked it out right before we went live. And just like you said, very revealing. But I think a part of it, too, now that because Brock is older, he's been in the fight game. He's been world champion in the cage. He's been world champion in WWE. He has a sense on what he knows to do. And a lot of things that he said in the interview about that he's really old school when it comes to business. He doesn't go and just, spends his money without any reason. And on the contrary, he's building businesses. He's built up his butcher shop. He's got this farm that he keeps adding acres and acres. He's got this 5,000 acre where he farms grain. So he has employees. So he has his own seasoning, by the way. So if you're a barbecue head, I'm a barbecue. I spent the good chunk amount of the afternoon yesterday barbecuing. I love me some barbecue when the time is right. I might buy this spice. It's called the Brock Lesnar blend by the Butcher Boys, where he started coming back, and when everybody started seeing him on social media back in the mid last year. So he seems like he's in a real happy place. But this quote, when he's asked about the current status of like the WWE talent, about the new stars, it was very interesting because he said, what Pat McAfee asks him, what do these young talents need to do to get noticed? He says, quote, get over, figure out how to effing put asses in seats, not worry about your next high spot, figure out how the hell I can be different, how can I make money, end quote. So I think that is very true, especially when I talk to a lot of the old schoolers here locally here in Orlando that come from that old guard. And a lot of them say the same things. A lot of this younger generation, they're just so focused on these spots, on these high spots, instead of telling a story like what Brock Lesnar has been doing perfectly since coming back from SummerSlam. So interesting, very great interview. Jeremy, did you have a chance to check some of this out too?
No, not yet. I had to work, so I have not been able to, but I'll definitely try to get it in either before Raw or sometime after Raw tonight. Yeah, I found it interesting what he said, and a lot of it applies to a lot of the young guys. A lot of the young guys are doing it. You see a guy like Darby Allin, you see a guy like Danhausen, you see a guy like Orange Cassidy. Not necessarily, especially the last two I mentioned, are not necessarily known for high spots, but they have made a name for themselves and they've drawn interest and now are in the second biggest wrestling promotion in the nation. So, there's a lot of people a lot of young people that have already realized that. That's good to see.
It is worth noting that this is a guy who came from sports.
Yeah.
This isn't like an entertainer. This isn't like, Danhausen was a comedy guy who got into wrestling and figured something out and now is riding the wave of that. Brock's been doing that now for 20 plus years, like 20 plus years. And he's also very legit. If Brock wanted to go back into the UFC, he could do it in his 40s. Not many people can do that. He is an exceptional human being. And then on top of that, he really has figured something out, especially in the last 10 years of his career. There's something about the timing of what he does now that seems a little bit more dialed in. He's had so many big matches. The promos from him are so interesting now. And so you're getting this even deeper level. And he was already the main event guy then, But I do think he's right. I do think there's a lot of guys who are trepidatious. You hear this from the older guard of people like, you need to step up and take a risk. Even if that means like you're going to buck the system and let the system will buck back and give you something. And we've always heard Vince likes people that challenge him. You can challenge him. I think there's far too many people, not saying in wrestling, but in life, that are kind of complacent but talk a big game on social media and project something but don't live the thing they project. Brock is what he is.
Yeah.
That isn't far. Like, they give you a little bit more lights and music, but that's he legitimately is that human being.
Him.
Did he mention at all in that interview, like his change in personality in WWE at all?
Some of it was reflected on, but none of it was really like directly like clarified or anything like that.
No
like
reason.
There was a lifestyle change or anything like that.
Yeah.
To me, it just strikes me as a guy who's kind of settled into his lane in his life and knows what he's happy doing, you know? And you get a little bit older and wiser, you know? I mean, I don't think you should be the same
has a
person.
lot to do with it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I still think a lot of
and he's still healthy, still very healthy. You know, he had that diverticulitis the entire time.
He's got that keto diet he's been doing for 8 years, bro. That's kept him that super healthy. Like
I also think that was what made the fighting for him so stressful. Is he had a very serious health problem,
well, and I think
while still fighting in this giant body. I
think being paired with Paul Heyman, also Vince just reined him in because he had Paul to do a lot of the talking, and so I think at Vince's direction, they just reined Brock in. But then, you know, I think the very first, ever since his comeback, you see him, the personality shining through when he won Money in the Bank. And I think that's when Vince started opening his eyes. And once there was the split from Paul Heyman, I think Vince, realized the potential of this type of Brock and has just let him run with it. And obviously it's been successful.
Yeah, Nashad Joe Ali's been with us saying Cowboy Brock Owens. He was still sporting that cowboy hat. He must have a couple of them.
He was on. I saw a little screenshot of.
There was a very funny moment. He broke a table. He broke the table. They had the microphone set up for him in the studio. And as a radio person and someone who's produced and like set up mics and like done rigged mics for this.
He was just trying to move the mic closer.
Yeah,
to him.
and he
just watch out! Don't break my table. He's like, what? This table is just.
It's like 40 seconds into the interview too. It's like 40 seconds into like a half an hour, and then he just like puts the table back together, and he's like, whatever, all right. It was funny because it was Brock though too. He told some very very funny stories about smashing his brothers through a kitchen table and a china cabinet. So just pretty Brock being Brock. So if you are a fan of Brock, this will make you be a bigger fan of him. Go seek out this interview.
Absolutely.
If you've never listened to Pat McAfee, you just know him from SmackDown. This is a good way to start listening to Pat McAfee the day after the Super Bowl. A guy who played in the Super Bowl has a take on it. Big shout out to Pat McAfee and everything he's done.
He's got a good radio show there.
Great. I mean, probably the best sports talk radio show that's out there. You know, if you don't want to know everything,
I think he's surpassed Dan Patrick.
Oh wow, that's saying something. That's saying something there. Let's jump into story number 2. Money. Let's jump into story number 2, and do remind you once again, those Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards are still going on. You can get in there. Also, you can win prizes. Do you guys know this? You can win gaming consoles, merchandise as well. So definitely go jump on that. Sportskeeda.com/wrestling-awards. This is going on here. This is an interesting thing here. Dave Meltzer kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit more over at the Wrestling Observer newsletter about the future of WWE's media standings. This has been the most profitable part of the WWE's business portfolio. 3 separate billion-dollar deals signed in the last 4 or 5 years totally changed the wrestling market. And part of the biggest deal they had was the Peacock deal with NBC Universal, expanding on the relationship that already has Raw on USA Network. Now, it's worth noting that when you want to watch it next day, streaming rights, those are completely separate rights that are on this Hulu service, which is partially owned by a mixture of ABC, NBC, and Fox. This was the early days of streaming television on demand. Now everyone's kind of going their own way and having their own platform. ABC's consuming a bigger portion of Hulu. They're making it part of their bundle. NBC's kind of moving their properties off of it. To some degree, FX is still on it because those TV shows are kind of owned by Disney. It's this whole different thing. That really sounds confusing if you're not following the media business. So why is this important to wrestling fans? Well, the next day rights for Raw and NXT are on Hulu, all right? And now it looks like those are coming up soon in a separate deal. SmackDown, not a part of this deal. NXT and Raw could be moving over to Peacock, where the WWE Network already is for people in the United States, where a majority of their viewers are. And you would get next day rights on Peacock on the same service as you watch your pay-per-views. I'm all on board for this. I think this is a great move.
I think it makes sense. It just makes perfect sense.
Less
have
hoops
everything
to jump through
in one place.
Yeah, less hoops to jump through. Yeah,
and hopefully they give you the full Raw. Hulu only gives you a 90-minute version, so hopefully that with being on Peacock, and
I don't mind that though. I don't mind the 90-minute version. I don't
True.
mind it. I'm not. I know that sounds like an awful thing. Oh, more wrestling. No, 90 minutes and get through it. Bang,
But there's
bang,
also
done.
some stuff that people probably want to see it all too, though, and wondering why they didn't see you hear about it on Raw and they don't air it on that 90-minute version or whatever. So I hopefully they change that up if that deal does get indeed moved over to Peacock.
And I wonder also if this is also going to be something that's going to affect the international market to subscribe to the WWE Network. Does that mean that episodes of Raw are going to be and NXT are going to be available the very next day on the WWE Network for the international guys? I don't know.
Probably
this is probably going to be a US only deal.
Yeah.
But from a US standpoint, I think this makes perfect sense because you have everything hubbed. Well, not everything for the exception of SmackDown. That's available the next day on the Fox app. However, having NXT, having Raw all hubbed on the Peacock app, I think that makes perfect sense because you got your big pay-per-views there. You got your PLEs on there.
PLEs, we got to start saying that there, don't we? We got to get used to it. I want to know what fans are thinking here. We have people chiming in here in the comments. I want to get them on screen here as soon as we can. Where's my comment button here? People saying that in England, it's all on BT Sport, which is true. BT Sport in the UK has kind of exclusive rights there. I heard some mixed reactions to when BT Sport took over the WWE account, but I heard people a little bit more better with it. Maybe the interface is a little bit better. I've heard less complaints from fans in the UK recently. Steven Chambers is the are the pay-per-views, the PLEs, the special events, the WrestleManias, the Royal Rumble,
the premium live events.
Are they staying on Peacock? Yes, they are. As far as we know, for several more years, they are staying on that service. And it's worth noting that internationally, you can still get the WWE Network, as its own standalone service. So they still have that there quite a bit.
I want to get your takes before we move into our last story here. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Jeremy. Victor Nass asking, The Rock was great opening the Super Bowl last night. Did you guys pop when he said, finally?
I thought it was the most transcendent pro wrestling thing I've ever seen. Where it was one thing when The Wrestler became this big hit movie with Mickey Rourke. But wrestling has always been wrestling is separate from other pop culture. It's obviously it's big. There's a lot of Rock's one of the biggest movie stars in the world, but it's still always just you're still the wrestling guy. And you've heard John Cena and you've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin. You heard Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho did a whole web series about this entire premise that he thought he could leave wrestling and become a big actor. And I'm Chris Jericho, damn it. Or he had a web series about it. And it was the whole idea that even though you're a wrestler and you have all these skills and you're a great actor, Hollywood doesn't view you that way. The Rock is completely separate. He is a seismic force of entertainment. He's taken a lot of Vince McMahon playbook moves now with his own production company. He's a player in Hollywood well beyond just being someone on screen and will have a career like that. Now XFL and all these other things. To me, it felt like, wow, this is awesome. And because he was doing a wrestling promo for football. And if you're somebody who wants to buy ads in the XFL, this guy just sold you on how he can sell football. And he knows how to tell a story. And this is and if you can find the players and the teams that are competing and the sport is legit, I think The Rock's a pretty good guy to run your league now in terms of being a figurehead of your football league.
I saw a lot of people that are not wrestling fans that weren't a big fan of this. I saw, and this is media outlets, not people, but media outlets calling it long-winded and things like that. I think some
the
of
whole
the
pre-show is long-winded. It starts at noon.
Starts at 11 Central. Started at 11 a.m. Central.
This is this is long-winded. How many ads where they have to do panning shots of the Midlands and look at these hard-working people finally taking a day off to watch some football.
I thought it was interesting that he's literally on the field as the players are on the field for kickoff. They're basically waiting for him to finish so they can kick the ball off. I thought that was kind of interesting how they did that. That was cool.
I think that was awesome. And I loved your tweet, by the way, also, Kevin, when you put up when everybody's watching the Super Bowl and you're at the bottom, I'm here looking at, oh, by the way, WrestleMania is going to be there next year. I was watching the entire game on NBC and I'm watching I'm watching the stadium and all I can see is WrestleMania on TV. Yeah. That's all I'm picturing is how is WrestleMania going to look at SoFi Stadium next year?
It's going to be so cool at that joint.
I said it at least 4 or 5 times until people said, Kevin, you already brought that up 3 or 4 times.
I can't go this year, but I'm hoping to go next year. I want to go to that new stadium and check it out.
It was also very, very fun. There was a WWE promo for WrestleMania season, which was kind of neat to see.
Had the word dynamite in it too.
Oh wow. What a little,
And it was
what a
stupendous.
what a jab. What a jab
they,
WWE took.
then
There
they
were
used-
so many people I saw that immediately go, I'm going to grab my ass and yell on Twitter really quickly about how much I'm hurt.
Is
by
that a
this
jab
thing
at
doing.
us? Is that a
Then
jab
they,
at AEW?
They're definitely using McAfee's thesaurus there when he was running off those words on SmackDown that one night to describe WrestleMania. Now they're using his enthusiasm and words and putting it in their promos. I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The magic of video editing.
For sure. Halftime show was better than I thought. People saying that as well.
Oh man, that halftime show was great.
That halftime show was legendary. It was my
You had
childhood
people-
in 13
some,
minutes. It was
yeah,
great.
you had some people from my age, to enjoy it. Then you got the younger crowd. I thought Kendrick killed it too. The 50 Cent surprise was tremendous. I saw a lot of people complaining about it, but they can go yell at clouds.
We'll get this one question here. Jeff put this in. I missed it here. What's up, Kevin and guys? How you feel about the Super Bowl performance? I love it. It was good, but man, I miss those music. The creative. Do you think what is missing from something like the Super Bowl in general? Well, I mean, I enjoyed the spectacle of it, and the game is entertaining. If you have a blowout game, hopefully the commercials and the person that comes out and sings "America the Beautiful" and national anthem and the halftime show can compensate for that.
Yeah,
because blowout Super Bowls. Sorry to hear this. Boring. If I don't have a team to root for, I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Yeah, the final, like what, 7 games?
Yeah.
Whew. Tremendous.
I thought it was also too because like the stage set was just pretty much a lived up version or a small version of like Compton, Southern California. You saw the street intersections, you saw the buildings, so that kind of brought it all back full circle. Being that Dre and Snoop, they're all from that area.
Yeah.
Snoop and Dre produced Eminem and 50 Cent back in the day.
Yep.
So, and Kendrick Lamar is also from that area. So it all just brought everything full circle. So I thought it was a really a story very well told on the Super Bowl halftime show last night. But we got a super chat here, guys.
Here we go. Roland Curtis. Always thank you. Roland.
Thank you, Roland. You're always doing the super chats. Appreciate it.
It's great that Brock Lesnar's current run is a dramatic shift from the stereotypical meathead, but he should be able to express himself verbally. He attended multiple colleges. He did. But few have the power to buck the system like Brock. Yeah, he is the exception.
He can do what he wants. Yeah.
He is the exception.
He really can.
And he can do what he wants, and there's less repercussions for him kind of going off. In a way, because it's almost entertaining to see that. Like people are, what is he going to do? Is a compelling part of what he is, and I do think that can make things interesting. Can you have that factor added to the road to WrestleMania? We'll find out. Yeah. Brock wasn't in Indianapolis. That's why he was on Pat McAfee show today. Seems like he's going to be on Monday Night Raw. They said he was going to be on Raw tonight, so that's worth noting.
He's free agent, baby.
Yeah, he can go where he wants. He can go where he wants.
Yeah, I just really want to know what happened, what clicked. What made Vince say give him the keys? And I don't know if it was just as simple as taking Paul away or what, but I'm really curious to see what caused this shift, especially in the eyes of Vince. I'm just curious. I'd love to hear it.
I want to talk to you about another shift here.
Let me talk to you.
There we go. You did it too early. We do it at the end. Chris Jericho. It was the big signature signing for All Elite Wrestling when it launched in late 2019. Of course, that brand had many challenges, just like everyone in entertainment and sports did with the pandemic. But one huge part of what has been able to keep that brand powerful is having one of the greatest wrestlers of all time a part of the brand. And Chris Jericho, a guy who has, like other people, like The Rock's been able to do so many things outside of wrestling and then still stay very active in it and had very great periodic runs with WWE over the years. He grew frustrated with the WWE system, wanted to do something different outside of it, and then signs with the big rival and really puts them on the map. Now the issue is he going to stay with All Elite Wrestling? Is a 51-year-old Chris Jericho, who's still very active in the music world. He's got a big tour coming up with Fozzy, still very popular with this podcast, Talk is Jericho. The contract reportedly is coming up soon, and now Chris Jericho knows how to play with the system. Just because he's 51 doesn't mean this man doesn't understand the internet. He's been a successful guy on that as well. As now he's going online and reminding Kevin Owens about some unfinished business they have in the WWE. And Kevin Owens is locked into the WWE for a couple more years.
Jericho does this all the time on social media, though.
Yeah.
So this probably tells you he's re-signing with AEW.
I don't know if he does.
Jericho does this all the time.
I know he does this all the time.
And he does the opposite of what he posts.
Yeah, so. And he does the opposite of what he posts. But now I think there's so many guys in his position that are going to start doing this.
But I could see him maybe pop over one more year and then pop back to AEW. That'd be kind of cool to see.
I honestly see him retiring and just riding off into the sunset with WWE. That's just me.
Part of me, I just don't see him ending his career in All Elite Wrestling. I just don't. I think there's.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just think there's if he wants to do one big run. And end it. I think a WrestleMania is a place to do that.
I don't know if he's close to being done or not either.
I don't know either. But I also know, is he a guy who wants a post in ring career in wrestling? Who knows? For him, it may be a very, very different thing. Is he a guy who wants to consult? Is he a guy who wants to produce?
He's already got that at AEW.
Yeah. So now, does he want to come over to WWE and do that? And would they want him to do that? Like that's a whole.
Is there room for him to do that?
Is there room for him to do that too? Is there room for him in what he does already to do that? Is it something he's compelled to do in the WWE machine? Who knows? But if I'm WWE and you could do business with Chris Jericho again, you already have him come back over and do the Broken Skull sessions. That was done over text message. That wasn't, no contracts were signed. It was done over text messages. If Jericho wants to come over to WWE again, the door is open for him to do it. You absolutely know it, and you know they would want to do it. Now, what can All Elite Wrestling do to compel him to want to stay? Obviously, the money's there. Are there stories there? They're going to do something here with the Inner Circle. He's already done the world title run. He's already made a handful of guys. I'm not saying his time in All Elite Wrestling is done, but what can they do to keep him? If you're Chris Jericho, what is out there that they can do to make you want to say, hey, you're 51, you can do this. Your body's still holding up here, but what can you do to get me to stay? Because WWE's going to make an offer.
He already has it. He already has it. He's on Rampage every week when he's
doing commentary.
Commentary.
Broadcaster.
He's already got what he wants out of his post career. It's already set up for him, so that's an incentive for him to re-sign. Obviously, you got feuds that have never happened that he can be involved in, and I'm sure guys that he would love to put over. I'm sure there's a whole list of those out there. Imagine a Jericho Danhausen feud down the line. How entertaining that would be. Who else has he? Who else has he not feuded with? I mean, he hasn't feuded with guys like Ricky Starks. Because he was a heel to start out with. So some of those, there's some heels out there that he hasn't feuded with that he could do too. There's a lot that's still on the table for him to do there. That's where it almost makes sense if he goes to WWE for a year and then he comes back to AEW. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to end his career actually in AEW, because that's where he's going to probably do his post-career work at.
I think the most needle moving thing he can do is just what you laid out, like something like that, where he's the guy who finally gets to do what he wants and jump around and really kick it in for Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, well, here, Tony, I'm going to go have a WrestleMania run with WWE. I'll be back in 8 months.
Yep.
Stay healthy.
He could do that. He could probably do that. He could probably get away with that.
And he'd have no complaint. Tony would have no complaints on that either.
And also, this is a WWE that has a completely different look in the business now.
Yep.
Like where under Nick Khan, there's a lot more of like the idea of like, no, we can do short run stuff. It's okay. Especially if they're mid-card heavy and the top card is kind of thin in terms of people you can say they're top names in the company, right? Jericho could come in there and be like, yeah, okay, come on, Kevin Owens, get you up to the top card finally. Here we go. And then like that would be interesting. You want to do that after WrestleMania? Wow, that'd be a really fun ride into SummerSlam, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you got some really interesting stuff you can do with him on both sides of the coin. Chris Jericho at 51 years old is in a very compelling position, isn't he? So good for him.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And on the heels of that, of one AEW star teasing coming to WWE, we have another free agent that's doing the same thing, teasing to coming over to WWE with one Jay White, who recently crossed the Forbidden Door into AEW. Mm-hmm. He was recently on the Strong Style podcast, and he said, quote, I could see myself showing up there either Monday or Friday at this rate, Monday Raw, who knows? Maybe I'll be on Dynamite on Wednesday. If you got Thursday on Impact, then I've got Friday on Rampage. hey, maybe SmackDown as well. I can see myself at this rate. I can see myself showing up there as well. And then you go Saturday, I'm back on Impact again. End quote.
He's got a big pay-per-view match with Eric Young this Saturday on Impact. So
very compelling statement there by Jay White. I think this is more just him. I wouldn't call that a non-answer, but I wouldn't call that a definitive answer.
But if there's a way to bring back Finn Balor, you bring him back with Jay White.
Great, yeah,
crowd would lose their shit.
It's worth noting. I've talked to enough people. I know SP3 lost his head and spun a gasket when I told him that WWE was legitimately talking to New Japan, and he said, "Well." At first, he didn't believe it was a real thing. But there's no way this is legitimate. And then Bryan Danielson goes on the record and says it was. That was on the table.
Well,
for me
I
to
think a lot
say.
of it. I think a lot of it was there was a report that New Japan was mad that the word got out.
Yeah,
and that's why they backed out of it.
Yeah, and that's how New Japan does business. They like to protect their secrets and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
and it's a smaller plane that they play on media wise. So that's something they would want to reveal and have you come in on them just telling you that information. They don't. So I get that. Everyone does business a different way. WWE would love if it leaked, and then you tune into TV, and then, oh wow, yeah, yeah, the thing I heard about is legit. The person I heard was going to show up at the Royal Rumble did. Oh wow, great, So New Japan is not that way. They disseminate the information, and then their herd passes it on to other New Japan fans. So with Jay White, I'm more interested to see what he does with AEW. How is he going to be more of a Kenta guy where he comes in, does maybe 1 or 2 big matches, and then thank you, and that's the continuation of the
and
AEW
this is all because
relationship.
This is all because Tony Khan screwed up his words and was
why would he say that? Why would he say that publicly? That's not something you don't have to show the cards like that.
And then because he mentioned or he thought Keith Lee was a forbidden door, but he was a free agent, so. Bonus. We win out of that though. So.
I know we went out of it, but I'm also like, I don't know if you should be saying that. Like that. Oh, it was a little
cringe. It was a little cringe.
It was. I wouldn't call it cringe, but it's also like, Tony, I don't think you need to say that. Like I don't like it's like there's one thing about being a little bit too transparent. Like you don't have to tell me everything. Like I signed this major world class wrestler because of a wording in a tweet. So. And Tony never tweets. He never tweets. So when he does, it's good. We got to pay attention.
He never talks either. I mean, he's so introverted.
It's been a hell of a show. Are you having a good time? Are you enjoying your post Super Bowl hangover? Did you put on 40 pounds like all of us did? Thank you for doing that. If you are watching us, go ahead and hit the like button. It's very, very simple. For you guys on Facebook, make sure your notifications are on. I know some of you guys are very, very good about this. The notification stuff with Facebook is all through the roof, but here's what you should know. Top story, this show, 5 days a week. We're likely doing it at 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, depending on the news cycle of the day. Okay.
Sometimes top of the hour instead.
Sometimes top of the hour if something really breaks and we want to jump on it really soon. So definitely ride with us on that. That's when you should be looking for us. That's when those episodes drop. If you want to watch them on demand the next morning, it's great. A bunch of other stuff on the channel every Monday night. Vince Russo, former writer of Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro, covers Monday Night Raw. Then on Wednesday nights, we have The Debrief with that man right over there, Jose G. That streams on our AEW Facebook page and our YouTube. All their shows stream on our YouTube. And then on Friday nights after Rampage and SmackDown. How do you say it again? Thank you. We have the legendary Dutch Mantel. Dutch Mantel joining the program as well. Hot feed there. Tuesday nights, we also have Unfiltered, which always has wrestling legends of the past doing interviews. We have literally hours of content. We just dropped new interviews with the NXT Tag Team Champions, Mustache Mountain, from the BT Sport presser that we just did this past week. Shout out to Philippa. I always mess up that name when I say it out loud. Philippa. Over in the UK, he's been covering that. Great stuff over there. So a lot of content on the channel for you guys to check out right now. And just thank you guys for watching the show. We produce a lot of content. You guys watch a lot of it. We can see the numbers. Thank you very, 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 very. We are very grateful.
Love you guys. Love you guys.
Definitely love you guys. Give them all a follow, too. Give the boys a follow. Jeremy Bennett on the Twitter machine at JB Huskers. Jose G, very active on the IG. Very active on the Instagram. TikTok as well. You still doing the TikTok game? You on the
Absolutely, bro. I'm all about the TikTok game, bro.
You know the dances.
I'm all about doing those challenges and
Rusev was on there. Rusev was on there shaking his ass with Lana.
Stuff like that. Hell yeah, bro. Those are great. The CJ Perry page on TikTok is awesome. Speaking of Miro, Victor Nash just dropped a comment, said that Miro has recently been cleared. So hopefully he makes a comeback here this Wednesday. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm
He got really
looking
snake
forward
bit.
to seeing Miro.
He got snake bit in this AEW run. He's had a lot of injuries since he's been there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Good to
get out of here, dudes.
Let's get out of here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. Hope you guys enjoyed Monday Night Raw. We're going to have AJ Styles versus Damian Priest again. That'll be on tonight. And we'll be live after Monday Night Raw with Vince Russo, bro. We will be back here tomorrow, as we are every weekday, with the top story. Remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what?
You have to enjoy it, fellas. Enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Let me talk to you.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!